And we're live. So, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 1, take 2 of the Tarot Brunch at the Roundtable. And the reason why we are doing a take 2 of the first episode, which we have already filmed at the very beginning, in that episode, we got a little sidetracked and we ended up talking about a lot of things, and there's great information in that episode. But we didn't really get to all of the aces in depth in the way that we originally wanted to. And so today we're going to do that again. We're going to talk about the aces. We're also going to talk about the Magician, another number one, and one card that we haven't mentioned at all yet, the Fool. So with me, I have Carla from Carla Astrology, and we have Practical Mystic Carol with us here. Hello. How you doing, ladies?
Good. Happy to be here, obviously.
Yes, honored to be asked. Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
I really loved all the insight that you gave us in the last episode that you did with it. Which was that, episode 9?
Thank you, Maria.
Okay.
It's old and worn out, but it's still valid.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the things that you said, which is why you're here today.
Mhm.
So, the way that I would like the order I would like to go in is do the Magician first, then the Fool, and then the Aces. And to start us off, let me see if I can do this here on my phone. Is it working? Is it this? And voila! So,
Right. Well, okay. So starting with the Magician, I have my Light Seer. So obviously I'm going to have Light Seer. And here we're talking about skills, natural talents, the power of manifestation, creativity, and resourcefulness. And her card says, I can manifest the life I desire through energy and action. So the Magician is like, for me, is somebody that is knows how to manipulate their surroundings and is able to take in is a master of that. And so creativity. I also thought I would show the new deck that I have, the Myths and Legend Tarot. And they used a werewolf for the Magician. Yeah, which is pretty interesting. So they're saying the legends of the shape-changing werewolf are a myriad. Several 12th century French Romance poems describe werewolves as creatures of great nobility and controlled gentleness, with an enviable power to transform, which they use to protect the weak, as well as to enact vengeance upon the treacherous. So here you're seeing duality and transformation and creative forces. I didn't grab a lot out, but I thought I would get the Thoth too, because Thoth is pretty I like the way they that's like, it's called the Magus. And here you have a youth with a winged helmet and heels, equipped as the Magician, displaying his art. His attitude suggests the shape of the swastika or thunderbolt, the message of God. I think that is absolutely interesting. So I'm not as familiar with Thoth, so I'm not going to go into great detail with that. But I am going to end it with my supernatural. The Magician is Chuck, and Chuck is God in supernatural.
spoiler alert.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that they have this galaxy thing behind him. Is that what it is?
Yeah, actually it is. You're right.
Yeah.
That is what it is.
Cool.
So, and like Chuck writes the whole story, unbeknownst to the fellas, Sam and Dean, that he's like creating their whole story as they go. They're characters in Chuck's story. So, I mean, he's the master manipulator of everything.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
God, all right.
Yeah. So that's what I have for the magician.
Okay. Do this. And hi, Gina. Welcome. Okay, so this is the card that we typically know from the RWS, the Magician. And in the Tree of Life, the Magician is path 12, which is the one between the black and white up here. And this path is called Beth, or the Hebrew letter associated with that is Bet or Beth. I don't speak Hebrew, so sorry. And so that path runs between Keter, which is the number 1, Source, and Bina, the organizer of form, which is the black one here, number 3. And here is the Robert Wang deck of the Magician. And so the path also is the path of self-consciousness, which connects the pure consciousness of Keter to the female mother element of subconsciousness of Binah. And it is the crown of understanding, the beginning of material production, acting through Mercury on Saturn. And the letter Bet or Beth means house. So the magician himself is the house of the divine spirit, and as well as the architect and the carpenter of the house. So he makes it and he hosts the spirit in himself. He is the director of channeled energy, as well as the energy that is being channeled. So the whole going in and going out process. In the Thoth deck that we have already seen, you mentioned that he has got the wings on the helmet and the shoes. So yeah, he is Thoth or Hermes, and he stands for wisdom, magic, communication, and the language of the written word. He represents the definite step towards manifestation, and he is also known as the trickster, which you have also mentioned. So he has the knowledge and the tools at his disposal to make stuff happen. On his altar, we see the traditional Golden Dawn implements in the proper elemental directions. And they refer to the elements. They also refer to the 4-letter name of God, Yahweh, and also the tarot suits. So we've got the pentacle, the sword, the wand, the cup, and also the 4 worlds that the tree is divided into. And the infinity sign above his head, now here we have the Mercury sign, but in the RWS, we have the infinity sign. That one arises from his mind, so it's like growing and forming of thoughts. And the challenge that comes with the magician card, or with a magician as an archetype, is transparency, to be able to see through things and to build and create. So in the sense of seeing through things, knowing what they are, making things transparent so that you can understand them. So this is the depiction in the Hermetic tarot. So here we have an extra Hermes, and here we have the magician. We also have the things laid out in front of him here. And in the Initiatory Golden Dawn, we have him like this. Also everything displayed on the altar. Now in the, what is it, the Atlantis Tarot, he is a high priest. And here we also, like, what I like about this card is this huge shadow in the back. So this person can use the energy for good or evil. Like, you kind of never know which way he could be going. So he has the potential to do both. And in the Housewife's Tarot, this kind of goes more along with like the trickster. It's like a washing machine here. So this is the kind of guy who tries to get you to buy the washing machine, and he's going to tell you how great everything is, and this is going to make your life so much easier, you know, just a little trick. Pour it in, add some washing detergent, and voila, everything is done. But he doesn't actually tell you how long this thing is going to last, or if there's anything you need to worry about, how like if it's energy efficient or anything like that. He's just going to sell you the thing because he needs to sell you the thing. In the Lo Scarabeo Tarot here, he's actually working with the Four Cups. So, and he's not really, yeah, he's just hovering above the grass a little bit. So here he's in full work mode. And another card that I like is from my Vampire deck. Here he's actually depicted as the alchemist, and I really like that because that's like how I imagine like a magician in his lab. He's got all these things in his like potions and bottles and books and everything he needs to make his magic happen. And in the Röhrig Tarot, here we have this like the creation in his mind, because that's where everything is coming from. You have the thoughts, you think about it, you manifest it, and I really love this depiction of this God energy basically above his head. So that's what I have about the magician.
Okay. Maria, you covered a lot. You told me to go ahead and tie things up. I'm going to be working with the magician, the Rider-Waite, and I guess I'd like to, all right, let me start by the number one, as far as if we're looking at the concept of working with the Kabbalah and what it means in the magician. As Maria said, it's going to be on the second, the 12th path, which is Binah, and it is with the planet Saturn. So there's a discipline in the aspect of the magician. The one says in the Roman numeral, I am that I am independent. In a modern days way, the one indicates the personality and the ego, which we have to refine when we get on the path, any journey, especially when we're working with the Holy Kabbalah. So as he descended from Kether, which is the unknown, well, above that, Maria, do you want me to talk about the three cycles, the Sof and Sor, or?
I would go into Keter when we get to the aces, but everything else you can talk about.
Okay, so Kether, Kether, is when it began on the tree of life. Prior to that, it was unknowable. So from that realm, Kether is what we're all going to be talking about, which is where the four aces are. So from Kether, we have the magician on the 12th path, as we both said, that is Binah. And what the magician is telling you is that from above, the old axiom, as above, so below, we see that in the double-pointed wand in his right hand, and he is commanding that. Yes, there is the holy lemniscus, also known as the infinity sign above his head, and that is an ancient Gnostic symbol, which says you also need to understand that you are interdependent and interconnected to everything in the universe. He's reminded of that by that white band around his forehead. Yet his ego, which I alluded to earlier, we all have an ego. We're trying to refine our ego. I'm certainly not from the school that we need to crush the ego, because we need the ego for decision makings, for who we are. It's our personality self, but we refined it. But that dark hair that he has is symbolic of how the ego sometimes is limiting, and that our awareness of what we're trying to bring down, as above as below, the old Hermetic axiom, that it's going to be filtered. Now, it's fascinating because his body is going to show you how that's going to be filtered, because from the right hand, it's going to have to cross against his chest, and then he wants to manifest below. And again, there is this discernment that be careful of what you create and what you desire. That's also depicted again by the red roses of desire. And then you have 4 lilies, and there is the clue, because today we are really going to discuss the 4 elements. The 4 elements is what makes this world go. This is what you and I and everything else is built of. So the lilies, the 4 lilies, is what is called divine thought, purified thought, and working with all of our elements in a pure and understandable way. Now, he also has the serpent. It is known as the Ouroboros, and it is devouring its own tail. So what does that symbolize? And it's around his waist. The waist is considered the area where there's your solar plexus, but you're going to have 3 chakras below, and you're going to have 3 chakras above. So again, it's that understanding the responsibility of what we do and how we work with our chakras. But the snake devouring its own tail is telling us that through our awareness, and this is what the magician is all about, we're going to be shedding. We're going to be shape-shifting, which really goes right with what you said, Carla, with the wolf. I think you said some shifting. So there's some, and we're going to have to change ourselves. Maria alluded to the word of binah. In Hebrew, it is house, Beth, house. Well, that is our physical body and how we transform ourselves chemically, physically, always. Yes, he has all the instrument. Again, we're talking about Kether, all of the aces. Of course, he's now manifested. He's come down. He's on the 12th pillar. So he has all the tools on his table. He's got to use them properly. I guess that's all I got to say.
That's all.
Okay. And I do have one more. I wanted to bring about the simplicity of, all of us know the Marseille deck. And I will explain a little deeper when we get into the aces, but the simplicity of the coloring is also going to be key of how the initiates and the occultists wanted us to understand the 4 elements and the power of the 4 elements. Now, his holy lemniscus is definitely shaped by the hat on his head. He seems like he is not really using the power of his wand in the same, I would say, intensity as the magician. And I just thought about something because of you, Carla, and how much I love your palmistry. All right. When he uses his left hand, remember, this is a mirror image, we see the finger of Jupiter. Now, in astrology, the index finger, the pointer finger, in astrology, it is Jupiter, and it is the benefic planet. Again, the ancients wanted us to realize what we need to be conscious of, what we create. We're responsible for what we create, and that we have the power because of Jupiter. We look to see where it is on an individual level on our charts, but that's why that middle finger is shown to be pointing at the reality of our power, our essence. And of course, again, we come from Qatar, And we'll get a little bit more of what that means when we get into the Fool. Did you have anything else to say about the Jupiter finger, my dear friend Carla?
No, I'm just blown away. You're like a plethora of information, and I just love it. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you're here.
Yeah, this is many years of study, you know,
Yeah, yes.
That's what I want to get to. Okay. Are we ready to move into the Fool?
Sure. All right. There is one thing I want to say about the magician. I don't have Julia Kuchowat's Real Sky Tarot, but we had talked about it in our video that the last one that we did together about the magician is Ophiuchus, which is like transformation and the serpent and all. Just like, wow. So it's like everything that Carol was saying, I'm just like, whoa, connecting the dots. I get so excited.
Yeah.
All right. So in the Fool, oh my goodness. Okay. So like the Fool is, to me, it's about the beginning of the journey all the way to the end. So it's like 0 and 22. So 0 being, the beginning, but yet complete. And then 22 being 4, which is kind of like, here we have all the elements again, the foundation. So I got my light seers. Let me see, I'll back it up a little bit. And here she represents new beginnings, potential, adventures, enthusiasm, awakening, innocence, and optimism. It also could mean being naive or assuming you already have the answer, being rash or impulsive, lacking experience, and of course, foolishness. And I also got my spirit keepers out, because what I really, really appreciate about the spirit keepers is that she has 3 fools.
Oh.
And yes, so we have the initiate. So there's the beginning, and the initiate personifies a new cycle of growth. And it's about having to take that proverbial first step of a 1,000-mile journey. Then she has, and that is the green man. So if you know what the green man is, then you have the seeker. So, it's kind of like, that's the stage that I'm in right now. I mean, I'm probably still an initiate too, because who knows what I'm going to be seeking tomorrow, So, and then she moves on to the keeper. So, and that's like, to me, that's encompassing it all. It's having everything that you've learned in your journey and having like a reference, okay, it's more along the lines of, I've been there, done that. So let's not do what we did the last time. Let's do it better. So, I mean, and you can get really deep with the spirit keepers, because she has a book of maps and she goes into, the creation of each card. We're going to keep it fairly short. I do want to show you the Fool in the Myths and Legends. So the Fool in the Myths and Legends, and I don't know if I'm going to say it right, is called the Baoan Shi. And what they are, they're like succubus. So, and what's interesting about that is that's kind of like the, if you're just, foolishly jumping into something without, thinking about the consequences, it could have some very bad or, even deadly consequences here, So it's kind of the darker side of it, but I can see where they're going with that. And then lastly, I have the fools on their journey. And if you were ever a fan of Supernatural, then you can definitely see from beginning to end, their journey was the fool's journey. I mean, because they jumped in and they just they were brave, and sometimes it probably wasn't smart, but they did it anyway, and they learned so much, and now they're both in heaven. So anyway, I just thought I just had to say that. But and that's what I have for the Fool.
Okay. All right. So yeah, the typical card from the RWS that we all know. And with the Fool, we are now on path 11, which is here on the other side. And this is between the 1 and the 2. So we are on the path called Aleph, and this is Spirit of Aether. And this is connecting Chokmah, which is number 2, and Keter, which is number 1. So Aleph is called the fiery intelligence, and by intelligence they mean like awareness or insight, not like what we know with the word intelligence. So and all of these paths are basically all attributes of God. I don't think that's something that we ever mentioned before. So Aleph is the first outflow of the words of the spiritual influence of Kether. And it is also the final path on the journey if we go from here to here. And it is the first current of potential of vibrations. This is in the Robert Wang deck, the Fool card. And the Fool has the number 0, and that in the Golden Dawn was because in the Zohar, which is an ancient Kabbalistic text, Aleph is described as the absolute unity and therefore cannot be given a number, since numbers are set apart from each other. And that's why we have the 0 for the Fool. And the path of the Fool is possibility, or the first glimmer of a thought, the first thought of manifestation after coming from the light, from the spirit. And in the Golden Dawn Tarot, we see a child, and that is supposed to represent the child god Harpocrates. I'm not quite sure if I'm pronouncing that. And he is picking a yellow rose. So in this deck, we actually have a yellow rose, which is supposed to be the golden rose of joy. And the child is or has the sum of all possibilities of life yet to come. So all the potential to do whatever it wants in life. Then there's also a wolf that the child has on a leash behind him. And the wolf stands for the possibility of destruction. And so here we have two opposing concepts in this card. And they balance each other out, basically. So birth and death, if you will. So the baby is the beginning of the life, and the wolf has the power to end it. And so we see the natural expression of the cycle of the universe in the Fool card from the Golden Dawn. And even though the wolf is held, here, this is the Initiatory Golden Dawn, and here the roses are red. I don't know why. I would have preferred the yellow one. Yeah, so even though the wolf is held in check by the divine innocence, like there's still something that goes also with this sentiment of naivete. If you don't pay attention, then yeah, the wolf could be very destructive. But yeah, the divine energy has the wolf on a leash. And the Fool challenges our assumptions of what is real, correct, or proper. And the challenge that comes with this path is complete freedom and trust, the ability to see beyond all beginnings and endings. Here is the Hermetic Tarot. And here it's not a child, it's actually a grown man, but he also has the wolf right here. Here's the head of the wolf. And something that we see in this, like the bundle that he's wearing on his stick, that's here as well in this card. And sometimes in the Fool, in some decks, I've seen that, not too many, but there's also a crocodile or an alligator. And here, you can't really see that, but it's down here. And I've seen that in the decks made by, what is it, Carolyn Smith, and I forgot the other name. The couple or the people who did the Oracle of the Radiant Sun and the Moon Oracle. And one of the tarot decks that they have, they got too. There's the crocodile and the Fool as well. In the Atlantis Tarot, the Fool is actually a poet, and he is just standing in the middle of like town square, whatever that is, and he's just giving his poetry, not minding other people around him, not even the dog. And someone else in the background is playing music. We have the statue of the Hermes right here. But yeah, it's like whether there is an audience or not, he's just gonna do his thing. In the Housewife's Tarot, this is like, to me, this is a bit of clumsiness. This is a bit too fool, naive kind of thing for me. I mean, I can understand the sentiment. Like, the purse of the woman is always full of stuff and she can never find anything when she needs it. And so once you try to find something, you have to take a million things out to get to the one thing on the very bottom that you're actually looking for. So I can understand this card, but knowing what else is there in the Fool, like this, there could have been a little bit more maybe, or something different. In the Lo Scarabeo Tarot, this is pretty RWS, although like we've got a little dog, we've got the Fool, and he has a cup filled with fire in his hand, actually. So there's fire coming out of that cup. He's got his little bundle and everything. And he is walking through a gate, and it looks like he's walking on clouds. There's also the sun. So he's like walking on clouds. Like he just stepped through a gate and he's now walking on clouds. So in that divine spirit, in the divinity, but he has his eyes closed. In the Vampire Tarot, this is also typical just foolishness. This is a very new vampire who has just recently been transformed. The sun is coming up, and as humans, they are used to getting up when the sun comes up. So he hasn't quite learned yet that it works the other way around for vampires. So he's starting to burn. So here's a learning process that we see in this card. And this is one that I actually have to sit with for a while. This is from the Röhrig Tarot. So here we also have the two different aspects. We have the masculine and feminine. Here, out of the alligator head comes a tiger's thing, and on the other side, it's the Fool's, like from the jester, the head. So there's a lot going on in this card. So yeah, that's what I have. For me, the Fool always represents also kind of like a pilgrimage. Like, where do we go from here? How do we want to do this? Let's make a plan. Let's start. Let's go somewhere. And yeah, that was the Fool for me. Okay.
All right, Maria, you said that you would like me to go ahead now and talk about the 3 curved lines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the reason I bring this up is because when we're talking about the zero, the cosmic egg of creation, what we have is the idea, whoever that was, I'm sorry, I didn't say that. The idea is that all creation stems from no thing. And the no thing is what is represented above the tree of life. And that is depicted in 3 words. Sof, and Sor. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it here, but those are those 3 lines. All right. Now, what do they mean? The is basically the no thing. It is such pure white. It is the God force that it is unknowable. From we come to the Sof, and now we have limitlessness. And what that is we have the beginning of the light basically penetrating down to the next level. And it really doesn't hold or contain the light, but it basically bounces off. The no thing is now starting to become something, and it trickles down to the third line. And basically these three lines I should have addressed in the beginning as the gateways of the unknowable, the non-existent. So the third, the Sof, or because of the Sof and having that reflection, we now have the penetration called the point of potential that goes into Keter. That is the first Sephirah on the 10 globes, powerhouses of the tree of life. So Keter is the Godhead, the God force, all that is. And in the tarot, now trying to bring it all together for people wondering why there is a zero, a cosmic egg, a fool, and why the fool comes from Keter on the 11th path with Hakmah, is the idea that he had to have a form, even though he's formless, as a zero. So, here's what I wanted to kind of put. This may help people understand this concept as well. Duality is what's going to transpire. And of course, I think Maria kind of alluded to that when she talked about that last card and the duality. The Fool is a hermaphrodite, and when he enters into manifestation, he's going to divide into male and female. We already talked about the 12th path, Binah, where we saw the magician. So this is what happens. The Fool basically is the soul coming in. It is super consciousness. There's three consciousness. There's conscious, there's subconscious, and the super consciousness. So now let's talk about the Fool symbolically. Here we are with the traditional Rider-Waite. I'm going to put it right in front of me. You don't need to be looking at me. Okay. Where do I want to begin? All right, let's talk about his the sun, because that's going to be basically a symbol of Keter, because the sun is not white. This is called the spiritual sun that is pushing him on to go in and to jump off the precipice, to go into life, because right now he has no experience. He doesn't have any desires. Why do I say that? Well, he is holding a white rose. A white rose is pure. It's not a red rose, so there is no desire. He comes back with his past as we reincarnate. That is shown by the wallet that is attached to his power, which is the wand, that he doesn't even know what the power is, the way he's just chalantly holding it on his shoulder. In fact, it's on his left shoulder. So that means it is dormant. The left is where we receive, the right is where we use. Again, we're talking about a mirror image. All right, so what's in that sack? And again, you don't need to be looking at me, okay? That sack of the, let's say, past incarnations also has the Eye of Horus on it. The Eye of Horus reminds him to be wise, to understand those four elements that are in the bag. Again, he comes from Keter. Keter is going to give you those four aces, which are the purest of the elements we'll be talking about here today. Now, some people say, no, it's not the Eye of Horus. Some people say it is the glyph of Scorpio. So why Scorpio? Well, Scorpio is the 8th house. Scorpio is the house of death and rebirth, regeneration. So he's coming back from that zodiac sign, if you will. He also has a red feather. And that red feather, if we think about Egypt, because I certainly like to go back and find the mythology and the symbology, there was a goddess, and I always have a difficult time whether that M-A-A-T is pronounced Met or Mimi. But it is the goddess who held the scales, and the feather was weighed next to the heart and balanced. If the heart and the whichever one was heavier, that was your judgment of your soul. So his red feather again is a reminder, because it's red, it's for him to be active and to have that crown of the green, of growth, whatever he grows, thinks about, produce with his blonde hair, is also indicating that it's of a higher dimension. Yes, he is the element air. He is also the planet Uranus. Again, there's two schools of thought. It gets very complicated. Some old initiates, and not the Golden Dawn, I think it's the builders of the Adamant, I'm not sure, but may contribute the planet Pluto. I like Uranus personally. On the Tree of Life, Uranus is Hakman. So I'm going to go with that. Now, what is Uranus? Let's define that to help us understand this new soul that is now incarnated and ready to jump into the abyss. Uranus is a planet of electrical stimulation. If we look at the Fool as being in the womb, which is the cosmic egg, then we know that Uranus is going to ignite the electrical impulses for that entity, that manifestation from Qatar, to be created, to give birth, and to go down into the world of manifestation. That world of manifestation, if we look at, let's go back to the Tree of Life. Okay, so here is Qatar, whoops, or the top one, and here is the Fool here, Chakman. He's already been incarnated. Remember, we have that duality with the magician. The abyss is basically in the center right here. Now you have what is called the hidden Sephirah, and that is called Dat, D-A-A-T-H. It is behind the pillar of air, of harmony, equilibrium. And this is the abyss with that knowledge. Every time you and I or anyone else does a tarot reading, our deck that is not used, that part of the tarot deck that we were told when we were learning, not everybody follows the initiation and the invocation when they work with the tarot, but your deck of cards that are not been drawn or pulled sit on the left-hand side. That is called the death pile. That death pile, D-A-A-T-H, is, the meaning is knowledge. It is wisdom that has not been revealed. So the Fool, having no experience, is pure, and that is why he has a white undergarment. If you look at it, and white shoes. And he also has, Maria also brought this up, which is very important, is that on his white garment, he has the Hebrew letters of Jehovah, Yahweh, which is the Tetragrammaton, Yad, He, Vah, He. And that is a reminder of him. And as he comes into this world, he is to use that spark of his divinity with that knowledge of that as he travels on the path. I also think that the dog, which is basically a domestic wolf, is going to be his companion. He looks to heaven because he trusts heaven. That's where he comes from. And he is not worried about anything else. But that air element, that big vibration of yellow in the background is, which the color yellow is the air. It has to do with his intellect. Okay, the last, is this too much? Do you want me to stop so I don't take up so much time? Okay.
No.
Okay. So the next thing is we're looking at his garment because we're going to connect all the dots. His garment has 10 wheels. Let's just say they are 10 sephiras times 10, because anyone who studies the Kabbalah knows that every sephira has a tree of life under it. And that's how complicated the tree of life is. So let's go back to the disc, which we see has red spokes. There are 8 spokes, and we're going to connect that with the card number 10. The Wheel of Fortune. And here we have the disc with the 8 spokes. So what is the connection here? All right. We didn't cover this yet, but it has to do with the 4 worlds of the 4 circles. Okay. We didn't cover that. We will probably when we do the 4 elements and the aces. So the Fool realizes that he's already in the first world, which is the archetypal world that he's coming down. But these circles, and we're going to start with the center one here, this way. The center one is the archetypal world, but it is called the mystic circle because archetypally it is so hard to manifest because we're just not there. We're not that soul incarnating that we recall, but the power is there. And you're going to be able to take 8 paths. Now, why is there a number 8? 8 has to do with the 8 sephira. 8 sephira is Hud. Hud is the intellect, the thinking. And we know because of air, the middle pillar, that we have to think our way through what we do when we get to HUD and the creation and the manifestation of the magician. So we have the 4 worlds. So we have the archetypal world, then we have the creative world, and then we have the world of formation, and then we have the material world. Those are the 4 worlds. We'll probably talk a little bit about them later. Each one of those worlds is going to have one of the elements, the pure elements. Let's look at the symbology on the Wheel of Fortune, which tells us, again, the Wheel of Fortune is karma, the wheel of life, where we come back each lifetime. This is why the Fool is connected, because he's reincarnating now. In the world of formation, we're going to see the alchemical properties. Okay, if we look at the top, there's our architect. Who's the architect? Well, Maria alluded to it. That's the magician. And he's ruled by Mercury. And that's why you have the sign of Mercury right there. You next go down to, let's go down to salt, which is the earth. That's the symbol for salt. Then we go to the Aquarius symbol. And that is air. That is the middle pillar. That's the knowledge. That's the new vibration. That's when I say the new vibration, this is where we are right now as far as our consciousness and our ascending, where our world is, how important it is. And of course, that's the planet for the Fool. And then the last one here, let me think about that one. That is sulfur. Those are the alchemist uses to create, to form the body. And then, of course, we're reminded with the 4 fixed signs, and why they have a book is that the knowledge has to be, the knowledge is fixed. It is the ancient wisdom, and we have to abide by it. And when we learn, we can get off the wheel of life. When we learn what these books, what the elements, the tree of life, the wisdom of the ages is there for us to reveal. Okay. The one from the, oh, this deck is so old. I got it in 1969, believe it or not, this Marseille deck. That's the Fool. And again, very simple. His backpack doesn't seem to be that exciting. He has bells around him, and I never was able to find out what those little bells are around his neck. But I did find out that the Fool is very silent until he becomes the magician. The magician is the communicator. Remember, that's Mercury. So he is silent. He is mostly going to learn wisdom on a, let's say, on a 5 sense level versus communication of what the magician then represents. That's it.
Wow. Gosh, yes.
Thank you, Ria.
I agree. I totally agree.
Me too. Me too.
Okay. No, wait. Hold on a second. So before we move into the aces, I just wanted to say something really quick about Keter here. Keter. So Keter is known as the crown. So that's why we're also talking about the crown chakra when we put the human body onto this. And so we have Keter sitting on the middle pillar of harmony. And we've already said it's the first place where the divine energy enters into the tree. It carries the energy of absolute unity. It's the first something of the universe, and it represents pure existence and perfection. Astrologically, it represents the entire cosmos, and in a lot of sources, they talk about this in case of Pluto, also, and the angel that is connected to Keter is Metatron, which we have already seen in Malkut, but now he's also in Metatron, in Keter. So yeah, he has 2 positions on the tree, and so this is the number 1, the beginning. And that's where we're going into the aces now, the number 1. And we're going to start with the Ace of Swords. So, ooh, Carla, take it away.
You always screw me up with that, going to the swords first. That's all right. I should have known that by now. Okay. So, before, I don't know if anybody's put their eyes on Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible. I actually didn't read all the way through it, but I remember because one of the first things I seen on the dedication is that he dedicated that to the yellow rose, and I believe he said of Texas. But did anybody else ever see anything like that? And I thought about that when you were talking about the yellow roses in the cards. I just thought that was interesting. So in the Light Seers. See if you can't hear that or see that. We have new ideas, clarity, that aha moment, truth revealed, awareness, heightened states of consciousness, memory or thought, communication, victory, success, triumph, a stroke of genius, overanalyzing, getting stalled out or stuck, clouded judgment, and keeping truth inside. And I think that this card is brilliant because, I mean, look at all that she's got going on there. It's like, stairs, I believe that's what that is. And then there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So I mean, that is, we have air, and air is mental, and it kind of goes along with the magician. All is mental. So I think it's a good way of connecting the dots there. In the myths and legends, we have the witch's broom. So in the witch's broom, if you can see that, symbolizes sweeping away the bad and the old to make room for the good and the new. So it's like a new way of thinking, a new idea, a symbol of home and hearth. And European and North American witches also traditionally use the broom to fly. So they may fly to a gathering or a celebration, or perhaps fly out to sea to raise a storm. So that's pretty cool that they put the witch's broom on there. And it's actually the first time I've seen reference to that myself. You know, I'm such a novice, but let's see, what else do I have? Oh, I did grab out my thought. So, and he doesn't really have a lot. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I showed you the Ace of Wands with the myths and legends because I had that out. Okay, so just forget everything I just said. All right, so here we have the Thoughts Ace of Swords, and it says with the Princess of Swords as its throne, the Ace of Swords rules the Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces quadrant above the North Pole. Wow. In the area of the Americas. So that's kind of interesting. A hand, this is the golden, talking about the Golden Dawn, so I'm not going to even go into that, but it's primordial energy of air, the essence of the vowel of the, we're talking about the tetragrammaton again, or tetragrammaton. Am I even saying that right?
Yes,
tetragrammaton. Yeah.
Yes, the integration of the rock. So it's like, again, it's, to me, it's that beginning, that beginning thought is kind of like, and there's so much power in that. I don't know if I grabbed anything else out for the aces. I didn't. So that's what I got for the Ace of Swords.
Okay. I'm going to try and hurry up through mine because I'm noticing that I'm skipping in and out every once in a while. So if I'm suddenly gone, you are still there. So let's, fingers crossed, hope for the best. Okay, so the Ace of Swords is the root of the power of air. This is the Robert Wing deck here. And in the Golden Dawn, we see a hand coming out from the clouds holding the sword, which also has the celestial crown on top, and it has an olive branch, or in some could also say it's a laurel. I'm not sure. And one of the books that I had, it was mentioned as olive branch, and also a palm branch here. And raised upwards, the sword invokes the divine crown of spiritual brightness. And if the sword would be turned this way, it would be the invocation of demonic forces. And so the sword has the power to, for evil or good use, which is also what we talk about when we say the double-edged sword, because it can go either way. And so it is the affirmation of justice, upholding divine authority, or it can also become the sword of wrath and punishment. So yeah, it's two sides, double-edged sword, can go either way. Yeah, so the potential for creation and destruction. It is also the essence of the element air, so the mind and reasoning faculties of the human. Here we have the Hermetic Tarot, and just like in the Thoth, we also have the same kind of handle here on the sword. So the sword piercing the crown says that nothing is beyond question, beyond challenge. Nothing is too sacred to be looked at with skepticism in terms of truth. So especially since we're now in the thinking element, it's also like searching for truth. And this is what we have in the RWS. Here the hand comes from the side, and in the Golden Dawn, the hands usually come from the bottom. So let's see, where am I? Yeah, so with the sword, we can cut through anything to find the truth. And here in the golden, in the RWS, we also have the two branches, the leaves thingies hanging down. So we have the laurel or olive tree for victory. We have the palm branch for peace. And we can use the intellect to win, but we can also negotiate peace. So we don't have to use the sword necessarily to make things happen. We can also use the intellect to do that. And the halo behind the hand stands for like there's like this God, like if this is the hand of God, for example, giving us all of this. Also stands for honesty, clarity, and intellect. And in the back of the card, the mountains here are also the mountains of pure truth. And the standard of truth applies to all equally. So no matter where we go, there is that. In the Initiatory Golden Dawn, we have the hand coming up from the bottom again. The crown looks a bit modern. I quite like this depiction. But what I also like is that there's a lot of shadow here in the cloud. So yeah, it can be good, can be bad. Up here we have the sunshine, so there's that duality again. In the Atlantis Tarot, I found this very interesting that the sword is over someone. This kind of reminded me a little bit of like the sword of Damocles, which is always hanging above us. And, you know, the decision-making process can drop anytime. You never know when. I'm not going to show you the one in the Housewives Tarot because that one is a bit triggering. Not the Housewives Tarot, the Haunted House Tarot. Sorry. The Housewives Tarot, here we have the sword as a knife, and we're cutting through cake, doing like cake tasting here. So I guess we're trying to find which one might be the best one. So the truth is not in the pudding, the truth is in the cake. And we're trying to find out which would be best suited for whatever occasion we have. So there's also a search going on. In the Low Scarabeo, it's not focusing, focus. So here we have the same handle again as we had in the Thoth and in the Golden Dawn. The hand is also coming out of the clouds a lot. The halo is not behind the hand. Here it's behind the crown. And we also have these two. And this actually, I don't really know what this is. This reminds me a lot of like Christmassy stuff. It doesn't really focus here. So I'm not really sure what plant that is. And that's what I have for the swords. The internet held up, so over to you, Carol.
All right, let's begin with talking about going back to Cathar, and that this is where all the aces come from. And basically, Cathar is going to tell you what Maria was amplifying, the right thinking, starting off on the right foot. There's basically 3 elements in Cathar, and before we become the 4th, which is physical, that is our earth, that is Malkut, and we get that physical body in the 4th Sephira, Chesed. So even though we have earth as the power and we need earth to use that, there are the 3-fold energies in alchemy, in life, and that is air, water, and fire. That is basically why I believe, and some occultists talked about the lack of color in the older decks, the pip decks, namely the Marseille decks. And the colors are, and I'm just going to bring these up quickly. Here is the sword, and you're going to see blue, yellow, and red. Of course, white is the background. And we see this motif of the same colors in all of the 4 aces, except, isn't this interesting, except for fire. Fire is going to take what is, you've got your primary colors, which are red, yellow, and blue, but because fire is, let's say, the gift of Zeus, and what we need to create has yellow and blue, and therefore it is more powerful. And fire comes from Keter, and we have the pentacles. Now, what I also want to bring to your attention is okay, so everyone understands that the 3 basic elements are going to be red, which is fire, blue, which is water, and yellow, which is intellect. Going to talk about, Maria, would you like me to talk about the 4 worlds, or do you want to leave that out?
I was thinking of putting the 4 worlds into the court cards, so I haven't planned on talking about that.
Okay, I will leave that alone. Okay, so let's talk about the Ace of Swords that Maria has requested. And I certainly agree with everything that she says. And what I'm going to do is try to expound on a few little things. The hand is the hand of God. Remember, it's coming from Keter. Keter is our source. Keter is the essence of everything. The cloud is the pure spirit, and all of the Rider-Waite, you see a hand emerging and a cloud. And they're going in different directions, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as we go through all of these. And there is the force, because Keter is force, and Dat is form. So when we get to Dat, which is the unnumbered Sephira, when we get into manifestation, then it becomes form. Again, let me reiterate that the first world is unknowable and unseeable until we get into Chesed, which is the 4th Sephira. So you have what Maria was saying, the palm, and we have the, well, I look at it as the palm for Palm Sunday, but it can also be what Maria said. And I also look at the berries for Christmas. And basically, the Ace of Swords is the middle pillar going to Keter, the crown, and on each side is your mercy and your severity. You have your 3 pillars of the Kabbalah in the Ace of Swords. And he is, or God is, or you are, when you take this power, this seed, this ultimate possibility, gripping it and using it in any way that you want. But it reminds you, again, we talked about the tetragrammaton. Basically, the tetragrammaton starts with the first essence, which is fire, which is Yod, Y-O-D. Yod is liquid light. And in the aces, you are going to get that power, which is essence of the hands, in all of them, the liquid light, the yods falling, except what I was trying to make sure everybody understood, except for the earth, because we already are earth. That is our physical body. And that's what we're purifying. So there is no essence of the yod in any of the suit of pentacles, because we are of that let's say, cosmic stuff. Also, whoops. I think one more thing. I don't want to get two. Okay, so you have 6 yuds, 3 on each side. The sword is reminding us what the 6 sephira, which is tifera, is telling us, that we are responsible for what we think and what we say, what we do. The swords can be used to strike. The swords can be used to heal if it is in the hand of a surgeon, but it can also be used to kill if it's in the hand of someone who is a murderer. And those 3 indicate the importance of understanding that. And it also softens us a little bit, because sometimes being analytical, we bypass the heart. Because there is 3 on each side, 3 yuds on each side of the double-edged sword, the occultist wanted us to relate that back to the number 3, which we can talk about the first part of completion. We can talk about creation, because we have the Godhead, Mother, Father, God, the 3 essence of what Chakma, Keter, Hakma, and Binah. There is your Christ consciousness, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. The 3 being Binah is softening you up, because that is the mother principle. And then lastly, to kind of tie it all in, 6, Sephira, Tephira, the Sephira, Tephira, that's your soul. In fact, the tetragrammaton, when it's very complex, it becomes what is known in Kabbalah the Cadman. The Cadman is one of, I believe there are 8 souls that we have said to be able to understand, tap into, but that is definitely the complexity of the tetragrammaton. Tephira tells us to work on this soul at this time, but I'm starting to believe, as I'm getting more metaphysical, and because of the age of Aquarius, we're getting away from some of the restrictions of Saturn, that we are much more empowered, and our consciousness is evolving at this time. We have to, in order to ascend and transcend, that I'm thinking that we may come back with multiple souls within us, and just choose to really work in purifying on some. And that correlates very well with the 8 spokes that is brought back from the Fool into the Wheel of Fortune. And again, I'm trying to connect the dots. Does anybody else feel that?
Yeah, when you say it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm just taking it all in.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
All right.
Like,
that's all I have to say.
Okay. So then we're moving on to the Ace of Wands.
okay. Well, you know what? So that was the one I was talking about previously, the witch's broom. I wonder if I have it. Yeah. So that's the witch's broom. I'll show you that again one more time. But anyway, so in the Light Seers, this is actually one of my favorite cards.
Oh yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
you know, I feel like that shows intuition, like a just knowing. I don't know. It's a beautiful card. And here we have new ideas, the seed of potential, which it's interesting also. I didn't grab out my spirit keepers, but all of the aces in the spirit keepers are called nucleic seeds. So I think that's pretty cool. The seed of potential, the arrival of inspiration, intense creativity, the mirror-like nature of consciousness, the interconnectedness of all things, the ability to manifest anything. Also, it could also, on the other side, would be feeling uninspired. So you're looking for that spark. Creative blocks, the mind needing rest, unfocused energy resulting in a burnout, and time to bolster your faith in yourself. The other one, did I get anything else? Oh yeah, let's see what Thoth has. All right. Here, and the only reason I want to get these out is because you had mentioned that you thought that they were similar to the Golden Dawn. So I think it's just kind of interesting, you know, his take and the Golden Dawn, even, and they're both, you know, RWS is coming from the same things that he had to work with. So this is the Princess of Wands as its throne. The Ace of Wands rules the Cancer, Leo, Virgo quadrant above the North Pole and the area of Asia. This card represents the essence of the element of fire. It is inception. It is a solar phallic outburst of flame from which springs lightnings in every direction. So, and he also goes on to talk, it's interesting that we're even talking about, you know, I say Jehovah, because that is, you know, tarot isn't, geez, it's not evil, is it? You know? It's, and I just love the, because it's inspiration. Inspiration comes from the cosmos, you know, at least in my opinion. So, but that's all I got out for the Ace of Wands. So,
Okay. Yeah, I'm always baffled when like the only church people I really ever had contact with were the Mormons. Like I studied a year, like all that they had to say, the missionaries. And they also told me that I should put away the tarot cards and I should not do that. That's from the devil. And I'm thinking, like, that's just, it's card stock. Like, this is, like, the devil didn't draw this.
crazy.
How can you be afraid of a deck of cards? Yeah, but then again, the Mormons also have, like, casinos and stuff. Like, whatever. Ace of Wands.
Yeah.
The root of the power of fire. So that's where we are right now. Here's the traditional one that we know from the RWS deck. And here is the Robert Wang deck. And this one is quite colorful. And if you're wondering, like, maybe this reminds you of something, ta-da!
Mm-hmm.
So you basically have a representation of the Tree of Life in the Ace of Wands with all the colors and everything. That is all done on purpose.
Yeah.
And the typical hand out of the clouds is holding this. We even have the 3 pillars here, which we also have on the tree. We have, let me see if we can help this. So here we have 3 Sephiroth on each side. So this one has 3 here, 3 here. We've got 4 in the middle, just like here. So that is basically that. Then the 22 yots, the flames here all around it, are the paths in between. So yeah, this is basically a depiction of the tree. Well, sorry, shaking. The Tree of Life in this. And let me see in my notes. What was it? Oh yeah, so the 10 here, those are the 10 Sephiroth. The spikes on the ends. And yeah, so we have here this symbolizes the essence of fire at the moment of ignition. And the energy is the beginning of the entire universe that we have depicted in this card. So that is what the Golden Dawn looks like in the, bless you. In the Hermetic Tarot, it looks a bit different. Now here, the wand is split into 3 parts to also represent the 3 pillars, but there's just flames coming out of it. It's not split up as nicely as we have it in this card. It's just a very simplistic version of that. And in the Initiatory Golden Dawn, we're going back to that kind of thing. So here it's not so much the spikes. Here is like represented in flames and actual fire. So 3, 4, and 3. And we also have, how many do we have here? I think, yeah, if like they're all over the place. So the 22 are here as well. And what I like about this, like this is really cool, like breaking through, like really this energy, this power, this force behind it. I really like this depiction of it. And so the way that we see it here, something that this has also reminded me of, like especially if we look at the top, and now it's getting in the 18 plus section. So the wands are also the like it's a phallic symbol, and there is like the wands carry a lot of sexual energy, and so we don't have the 22 yachts around it, but the leaves that we have here that don't seem to have any branch or anything attached to it, they're also green. They're not yellow or brown as if they've died off or anything. So what I see in this is like they've kind of exploded off of the tree. And so this is also like this fiery creation, and things are happening with a lot of energy behind it. And so the wand is also an image for virility, or as I've learned in the Big Bang Theory, wiener power. So yeah, the Ace of Wands energy can break through any obstacle. And when I'm through this series, I'm starting to get the Housewives Tarot less and less, because if we look at this as a phallic symbol, I don't quite understand what a feather duster has to do with a phallic symbol other than French maid and kind of cliches going into that, but I don't know. Yeah, that's basically what it is. Vitamin D.
Yeah. What you gonna do with that wand?
Yeah, I'm gonna need some vitamin D.
Big
Yeah.
wand.
So this, like, I don't know how this is a phallic symbol, unless I'm using it to not really dust, but to be like, oui, monsieur, let me just dust the shelves here a little bit. So the French maid kind of thing. In the Atlantis Tarot, here is something very different. We don't actually see a wand, but this card, like the Atlantis Tarot has a little bit of a different spin on things. And this card talks about the ability to leave a mark, which I also find very interesting. Like this is one deck, when I read with this, I don't really go with Thoth or RWS stuff too much. Like this has its own meanings, and this is one where I really go with the pictures, and I really like that. So very classic depiction here in the Lo Scarabeo tarot. We have the wand. We have very fiery clouds. So here we've got that energy, that burst of energy that's about to come out. But we only have 2 branches, which, and I wish there was a guidebook to this deck, like a real one, not just a little white book. So I don't really know why they only put 2 here. I mean, we could go with a left and right pillar, and that's just the middle. So, yeah, and they have 3 leaves on each side. So the middle with the 4 is missing. And another one that I like to see is in the Haunted House Tarot. Here it's a candle, and it's that initial spark, that energy that can give light, that can warm up a room. It can also be very romantic. So there's a lot that you can do with the candle, many uses for that, in order to find something, to look through the shadows, to not be frightened, or for some brown chicken, brown cow moments. You know, there's everything. And in one of the books, I also read some reference to Moses and you know, burning bush and all that kind of stuff. So this from the Röhrig Tarot, that gives me a lot of like burning bush, hear the commandments, come get them kind of energy. So we've got the wand in the middle, and then there's this fire just exploding from it. and we have the mountains in the back, and the fire is so big, like it takes over the entire sky. So yeah, it can illuminate many things. Fire can also be very destructive, but there's lots of power and force behind it. And yeah, that wand kind of also looks a little bit like a toy, but oh well. That's the wand energy, you know, that there is a phallic thing in there. So that's what I have for the wands.
Are you stuck
Wands.
on that phallic symbol, girl?
What?
Nothing. It is definitely creation, and there was so much covered by Maria. I'm trying to see what I can add to it. And immediately before my thoughts go, it's very powerful because we are coming directly from Qatar, which is fire. And we also are on the air pillar. Okay, so we got fire and air. So we have to be careful of combustion. And I was thinking of that in the housewife when you were showing her dust thing, that combustion that also happens when when all of a sudden the spark gets air, goes and it goes out and it combusts. So that is also indicated of this wand energy. There in the tarot, especially in the major arcana, there is symbology that is continued throughout all the 22 paths. I'm talking specifically on the High Priestess. The High Priestess sits behind, she's on a throne, and she has the veil. The veil is what is not revealed, which is very much what we're talking about when we were talking about the unknowable, the three veils of the Am, Sof, and Amsar Or. This has the water of the High Priestess. That's that river that is now going through the aces and fertilizing that with the conscious and the unconscious. So even though there is fire, that river of consciousness is to be aware of that power of water. Remember, water will conform. It is receptive. It is one of the four elements that is feminine. The other one is earth. So here, this is where the fire is now going to be used, and that castle is what you obtain when you work your power or your magic constructively. The other thing is there is 8 yods, the ones that Maria was alluding to that are falling down. That connects us to the 8 Sephira, which is Hud. Hud is ruled by Mercury. You've got the mind and you've got the fire. And it's reminding you that because you're on the air pillar, you will create the best fire. You will contain the best fire when you breathe, do meditation, understand breath work, and you control that inspiration. Because basically what happens, if you recall what I said earlier, when you're in that magician mode and that information is being funneled through you, you're going to get some, number one, distractions, but you're also going to filter it. So when you breathe, you're able to control the mind, the thoughts, the inspiration, and that's what the initiative said, that control your power to create, your sexual tendencies. When in the Gnostic tradition, the reason why the wands are so important to understand is that we're going to have to transform what is called the cardinal sexual act into a spiritual tantra act, where we purify intercourse, if I can say that, where it is used constructively. Once that energy is used and we're not distracted by lust and desires and abuse procreation is another way of saying that you're on the right path. That's another aspect of the total self. And it's the hardest one because we are multi-dimensional individuals and we're here to procreate. And again, understanding the correct mind, I think a lot of us have been taught properly and improperly of what it is, the importance of the sexual act, whatever your belief system is. I think that we're opening up in that. We're seeing that in the world. We're understanding that we are dual people and that it doesn't always have to be male and female. I think that's coming out now, and I think that's part of that correction. Okay?
All right.
What's better? I hope I didn't get into topics that were not okay.
You can say whatever you want. You can even swear like a sailor on my channel. That's all okay.
Thank you, Maria.
So that's it for the Ace of Wands from you?
Yeah, that's yep.
Okay.
You did a good job, lady.
So now we're moving on to the Ace of Pentacles.
Pentacles. Okie dokie. You better make sure I got the right one.
Yes.
Okay.
No room.
The Ace of Pentacles in the Light Seers is like this I think of as the original seed, you know, to plant the fruit that we eat or absorb or hear. So like the beginning of a new venture or task, a new idea, planting seeds for the future, great potential for success, manifesting power, ambitions, and prosperity. So also on the shadow side could be the need to create strong foundations to support your dream, risk of financial loss, missed opportunities, the need to prioritize, being overly greedy, and missing the bigger picture. All right. So I'm curious to see what the Myths and Legends has for the Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles is the Nang Kwak. Now, I did look up to see what the Nang Kwak is. So it is a spirit or a household divinity of Thai folklore. She's deemed to bring good fortune, prosperity, attract customers to a business, and found among merchants. So like I said, this is a new deck for me. I haven't really gotten into it, but so I'm going to read from the book here real quick what they have for the Pentacles. All right. The Ace of Pentacles again is the, gosh darn it. Forgive me. I had it up here and then I pulled the card on there, so I lost my place. All right. The Nang Kwak is a spirit or household divinity. Oh, they just took it right off of what I just said. Wasn't that interesting? I'm giving this creator away, aren't I? But it represents prosperity, blessed life, and material comforts. So life is just about as good as it gets. If you're not quite there yet, the road to prosperity is right in front of you. All you need to do is stick to your work. Huh. Interesting. Not sure about that deck. You know what I'm saying? So I am going to go ahead and pull out what Thoth has here. And he calls it the Ace of Discs. And this is the, with the Princess of Discs as its throne, the Ace of Discs rules the Aries, Taurus, Gemini quadrant above the North Pole. And steal not this book for fear of shame. The Ace of Discs, the author's name. That's okay. So he doesn't put a lot into the aces. And I'm getting my information from Duquette. There's like a half a pair or like a paragraph worth of information. So I'm going to leave the Ace of Pentacles to you.
Okay. Something that I found interesting that I really just realized today, shame on me. So in these two cards, on the other side, in these two, the hands have very different positions. And so these are actually male hands, and these are female hands, which also go with the elements. Just a little side note. So yeah, we're in the Ace of Pentacles, and my cat is making noise in the background. I hope you don't hear that too much. So the Ace of Pentacles is the root powers of the earth. And here is the Robert Wang deck from the Golden Dawn. And what we see is, once again, the hand coming out from the clouds and is holding this rose branch with a big pentacle in the middle. It has a Greek cross in the center and a winged Maltese cross above it. The cross in the middle indicates the presence of the spirit balancing and guiding the manifesting powers of earth. And the Maltese cross, the four elements must pass through all stages of the four worlds before manifesting into the physical world. So that's what this is up here. And we also see 12 rays around the cross. These symbolize the astrological zodiac signs. We have 4 roses and 2 little rosebuds here. And they represent the material things in all senses, good and evil. And the rosebuds in particular are signs of manifestation because they haven't fully come into bloom yet, but it's going to happen. So we're manifesting that. And the circle around the cross has 4 different colors, and those are the same colors that we know from Malkut. So they are citrine, olive, russet, and black. So the bases or sub-elements. And yeah, that is what the Golden Dawn has. In the Hermetic Tarot, this is what it looks like. So here we also have the winged cross up top. We have the 4 fully in bloom flowers, and we have 2 rosebuds here. The big pentacle in the middle, and there's a hand down here holding that very gracefully. So it's like kind of holding it like this, not clutching it like the others. Whoops, and it's gone. And in the Initiatory Golden Dawn, here they turned that pentacle into a rose itself, a cross in the middle. Here the Maltese cross is on top of that. And let me see, are there rosebuds? Yeah, we do have, like, there's 1 rosebud and the other one is on the other side here. So same thing in this. And yeah, when it comes to the RWS, this represents what we have down here, for example, given from the hand of God, the gift of incarnation and materiality. So from God, the first gift was basically the Garden Eden. And we get to be on this wonderful earth, and the challenge is to know when to leave through this gate and or through the arch towards, once again, the mountains of truth that are in the back. And the path goes both ways, so we can go in and out. And so we always have the option of returning to safety or comfort. And when we move out of the garden of familiarity, we move to a place of higher understanding. So just like with the story of Garden Eden, like as long as they were in there, they had limited understanding of what was going on. But once they got out in the world and they got to know what kind of challenges to deal with, that's when it got a little bit uncomfortable. But that was more like the full human experience, which they wouldn't have had if they would have stayed in that nice Garden Eden. In the Haunted House Tarot, here we have this as like an offering on the hand. And cat coming up. So, okay, in the Housewives Tarot, here we're doing dishes. I really have to sit with this deck again. I think I'm going to have to read this very differently, and I can't really put any of the too traditional stuff into here, so I got to find a new way to work with this deck after this entire series. But yeah, this is just something I have to sit with based on everything that I just said. In the Lo Scarabeo Tarot, we also have like the hint of the garden here in the front of the image, and then back there the mountains. Here's no gate, like we can just move from one to the other without much effort, and no matter where we are we can still see the other. So we can move between these things a little bit easier. And in the Röhrig Tarot, this kind of reminds me of like Mount Everest. So the person is up here and there's a lot to climb to get to the top. And this card here, like the big keyword here is success. So yeah, once you have done that and once you've gone the uncomfortable way, instead of just staying where it is familiar and comfortable, then you are rewarded with a great view and closer to the light, closer to God, so to say. And it's difficult, but worth it. That's basically what I get from the Pentacles. Like once I move out of that garden, yeah, it's not always nice and easy. It might be raining out there. It's not always sunny, but I want this because I'm here to get the human experience. And that's what the Pentacles are for me, that human experience.
Maria,
Okay.
that is excellent. You had my juices flowing there. Okay. The first thing I want to note, kind of make everyone note as we're talking about the Pentacles, and because it's the Earth sign, you notice that all three pillars are going to go back down to Malkuth. Okay. You've got your fire. Whoops. I got to go this way. Fire to my right, water to the left, air in the center, and everything trickles back down to Malkuth. So the Earth, as we said earlier, was the only ace, the ace of Earth coins or pentacles without the spiritual yuds, but it does still come from the hand of God. And Maria, I'm so glad that you talked about the gentleness. I kind of alluded that before when I talked about the 4 zodiac signs, and that you have 2 that work well together and then 2 that are antagonistic to the other. Because Earth is what we call more receptive and feminine, the hand is accepting or maybe even offering the coin to someone else. Where when we talked about fire and power, we grasp the wand, and a lot of the cards that Maria was showing, you've got the thumb up. Now, the thumb in palmistry is our will. And it is our determination, and that is the strength that the hand is showing, and how we can use that thumb to hurt or do something. So yes, this is a much gentler offer. The pentacle has 2 circles, and what that really tells us is we are limited as human beings to the earth plane if we are grounded. Those are our limitations. How do we get out of that? Well, the answer is in the magic of the coin, the pentacle, which is the pentagram. The 5-pointed star does represent man, but it also represents the Hebrew word for God, the tetragrammaton, Yahweh, with one more, the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is within us. So those 5 letters, the tetragrammaton plus the Holy Spirit, make up the 5-pointed star. So we have man and God creating our reality on earth, and it's in our hands. And because it points west, remember it's a mirror image, even though it looks to be going east, the hand is pointing west, which means we've already obtained it. That is also why you don't see the yods coming down, because you are already a spark of God when you are manifested and born into this world. And that is the reason why there is lack of symbology in the pentacles than there are in the other. Maria, you really got me going as far as talking about the Garden of Eden. I just want to throw in some food for thought. The tree of life that we're talking about today, we know that there are two trees. There's one behind it, and it is behind that knowledge, the one that we don't see behind the pillar of air. That's the tree of knowledge. Mm-hmm. So you got that, which is knowledge, and behind that is the tree of knowledge. We see it in the Lover's card, the tree of knowledge, and we see the serpent coiling up the tree behind the female, is representing that Eve, as smart as she was, said, no one's going to tell me what to eat. I'm having an apple if I darn choose. At that point, that wholeness and the, let's say, unity of the Garden of Eden is said to fall. The fall is what the fool did. You fell into duality. You now became separate from God and an individual, which is the magician, and now you are living in a dualistic world. So yes, that separation was because she decided to use her free will, and she convinced her partner to eat of the same fruit. So that, let's say, theme is carried on for a reason. I don't believe it was a punishment the way maybe Catholicism looks to create it. I think it was, we had to experience this incarnation, this life. If we want free will, there's responsibilities of it. And that is why we see all the beauty. What are we going to grow in our garden? And we see that beginning with the magician. The fool doesn't have anything growing. It's all barren. There's no history. There's no creativity until he goes into the abyss and then becomes a part of our reality here. And yes, Maria, we choose to go into that opening, which is back to the zero. This is back to the womb and die and come back, that cycle that we have on the Wheel of Fortune. That's it. Oh, let me show you the plain one from the Marseille deck, and it really does emphasize the power and the magic of the pentacle, and what you can create from it. Because remember, blue is your water, is what you're manifesting, and you have that red desire, and it's very beautiful, and you're working above and below when you're looking at this pentacle as well in the Marseille deck. Okay.
So there's one left, the cups.
Yes, the cups.
All right. I'm going to make this short and sweet, just like me. Anyway. So I only speak the truth. So in the light sphere, the Ace of Cups is all about like those new connections. It could be a new relationship, love. It is friendships, awakening the heart, positive outcomes, oneness, bliss, and creativity. It's a time to nurture ourselves, self-love, making sure that you aren't repressing your emotions, and opening up to the possibility of love. I am interested to see what this Myths and Legends has. So the Myths and Legends has, this is called Nappy, the Old Man, or Nappy. And I'm not even going to bother looking up on the internet because they probably copied what I'm going to read. The Blackfoot people, indigenous to North America, tell many tales of Nappy. So according to this, he was the beginning of this race of the Blackfoot people. He like started it with his, goes back to the stories. It was him and his wife. So he's a hero, a demigod, and he tells legends describing creation and the shape of his first people, plants, animals, and many landmarks, but also sometimes describes, he talks about the first humans. So this is representation of the first humans. So, I mean, I guess that's not too bad, you know, because it kind of goes along with what we've been associating everything with when it comes to God and creation and like the first spark of life. So, and I'm not, you know, I'll look at Thoth real quick, at least to show you the picture. Yep, there it is. It was hiding. So the Ace of Cups in the Thoth. Again, we have the Princess of Cups as its throne. And this rules Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius quadrants. This card represents the element of water in its most secret and original form. That's interesting. It is the feminine complement of the Ace of Wands. And is derived from the Yoni and the moon, exactly as that is from the lingam and the sun. So I'm going to let you take that away, Maria.
Okay, please, dear internet gods, just one more suit. Okay, so here's the traditional RWS card that we know. And for comparison, this is from the Robert Wang deck from the Golden Dawn. And the Ace of Cups is the root of the powers of water. So here we have the hand coming out of the cloud, but behind it, there's the water. And instead of holding the cup, here the cup is resting on the palm of the hand. And there's just one finger holding it to make sure that it doesn't really fall off. In here we have the letter He in the fountain, which is the presence of the Great Mother. And since this is a feminine energy here, and it symbolizes the essence of, or the Ace of Cups symbolizes the essence of the element water at the moment when two molecules of hydrogen join with one molecule of oxygen to create H2O. And it refers to the beginning of creativity, fertility, and the divine consciousness. And as you already said, it's the divine counterpart to the Ace of Wands. And it's also very symbolic because this is not just a cup, but it's also like there's this notion of the Holy Grail in here. And typical for the cups, we also have the water lilies on the water here. In the Hermetic Tarot, it looks like this. So here it has, I can't even count how many fountains that are. It's not just two, but there's quite a bit coming out of it. But here the hand is coming out like this again, and it's just resting on the hand, kind of like in this. And in the Initiatory Golden Dawn, here the cloud is hovering above the lake. We've got the water lilies, and yeah, there's this fountain going to all sides, and it's resting on the palm again. And so in RWS, so this card, something that is also connected to this, like in the 23rd Psalm, when it says, "My cup runneth over," so we have the overflowing of water. And we also combine different religious symbols in here. So we have the cup, which is representing the Holy Grail. We have the dove, the white dove, which is from the Catholic, like Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit. We have the water, which is the body of Christ. We have little drops of water. So here the yotes are little drops of water, which is a representation from Judaism. So there's a lot of different religious symbols in this one. And the cup is overflowing with joyful love. And the capacity to love is the real gift of this ace, of this card, to be able to feel it and to be able to respond to it. Some other cards that I have here in the Haunted House tarot, we don't even have a cup. We ourselves are the cup. So here we have the water flowing into the hands. And I also love that the full moon is here, like the water and the moon, the feminine energy, connecting that together. And yeah, we can hold some of it, but eventually it will also overflow because our hands can only hold so much. Housewife's Tarot.
Thank you too.
I have the potential to fill this with something. So right now, I guess I'm a blank canvas when it comes to my emotions, and I haven't really experienced anything yet. So yeah, I see potential, but no experience in this one so far. But she's got a nice manicure. Oh, yeah. In the Lo Scarabeo tarot, just classic overflowing cup, but not too many different colors. This is very white and blue and gray and everything. And let's see what is on here. So the symbols are actually, you can't really see that too much. So there's the dove up here in that circle. There is a sun, or it's the water lily, something like the sun star something. And on the other side here is the cross that is on the on this here. So that is a very different one. Something in terms of like emotions and everything. I love this in the Vampire Tarot. Here are the cups of mirrors. And of course you cannot see the vampire because it's a vampire. It cannot be shown in the mirror, so that's why the mask. But yeah, in terms of emotions, sometimes we mask our emotions. And I really like this idea of the mirror because something that I know from my own experience, like I don't always question my emotions. I have only started that as soon as I got back into the whole tarot journey and doing like a little bit of like psychology with that to really analyze what I have in the cards and to really go into the feelings and understand why I feel certain things. Like, for example, when I read cards by myself, I'm always in the here and now. And I read the cards to understand, okay, why am I feeling a certain way? And then the cards give me the next clue as to where to look and how to search my feelings, basically. So I really like this depiction of the mirror and the mask and taking off the mask, looking what's behind it, and really looking at the emotions, where they come from, why I have them, and what do I do with them? That's the next question. And in the Roerich Tarot, here we have the very feminine, there's a booty, but we don't mind, feminine energy. So here we have the cup, but yeah, there's also this very fiery energy. So water doesn't always just have to run cold. Water can also be very warm and hot. So here she's basically bathing in that energy. That is also like the male energy. She's the female, so both coming together, and that will eventually fill this cup. So yeah, that is a very, very different depiction. So that's what I have for the cups.
Okay. I'm going to start with the Marseille because it is an elaborate cup, and the key of this, where the cup is sitting, is on a white table, and then you kind of see like a brownish earth next to it. Well, that the quality of white a lot in the occult mysticism is representing unfoldment, that it's pure, it hasn't been developed yet. So the emotional cup, we're constantly, I believe, and listening to Maria, there's always checking in, well, why am I feeling this way, or why did this trigger this emotion? So the unfolding of our feelings, our emotions, love, hate, all of those, like, dislike, again, duality is always unfolding with us. And how do we contain it, which is also resembled in the cup here. And the blue is only that little bit of water. Remember, blue is the water element here. So taking from that, and going a little deeper, yes, that is the dove of peace. And that is the, I'm going to say, the host of Jehovah. And if you were Catholic, you used to get communion, and they used to give you a wafer. And that is what that dove is now putting into the water. Water symbolically is life. We come from water, we emerge from water, and we feel protected when we're in water. And the hand is very open and receiving. That's part of the feminine principle. The thumb is nowhere trying to dictate or command, it is resting next to the palm of the hand. The five waters are the five senses of emotions that are dropping into the pool of the unconscious. Remember, water now comes from the high priestess all throughout the cards. The lilies, well, let me back up a little bit, because all of the elements can work with one another because they all stem from the equilibrium pole column of air. And it's through our thinking that water can resolve feeling and emotions when we make sense of them. And how do we make sense of our emotions is through our five senses, but also a higher consciousness. And that is what the dove is saying. Allow the Christ force, or the Jehovah, to go into your emotional world and give you insight, enlighten you, which is why you have a golden cup. The lilies, going back to what I initially wanted to talk about, having all the elements working together, are the only flowers that use all four senses. They are grounded in the earth, they live in the water, but the air is what helps them blossom, and they get renewal from the sun. So they use the four elements to live. Another thing that we have to remember when we're working with the Ace of Cups. Now, the upside M is from the Hebrew mother alphabets, and it is Shin. If we reverse it, then it is an M, and that is another mother alphabet, and then that is Min, and that is having to do with mother and the emotions. Water also tells me the feminine aspects of ourselves, and how the gender of females seem to maybe struggle a little more with control of the emotions. So whenever the Ace of Cups comes out, I always, whether it's for myself or my clients, I look for that stability in the cards to my right, which is going to be my masculine energy, and then the cards to my left, which could be where I have a shadow, or I'm not seeing clearly, and the tarot is telling me, well, this is what's causing you to have those unbalanced feelings and emotions. There's also 26 yods. 26 has to do with all the letters in the alphabet. 26, when you add it up, is also 6 and 2, 8. In Hebrew, that is also indicating of the power of God in numerology, because the G is 7, the O is 6, and the D is 4. That adds up to 27, 8. So God's name is 8. 8 is the holy lemniscus. That is the power that we have to flow in both worlds, as far as within us, with our masculine selves, our feminine self, and reconnecting and finding that center, which is in the holy lemniscus. What else? I think Spirit's telling me to be quiet. I think that's it. I think I said enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm looking over to see if there was anything else. Oh, yes. When we want to balance, going back to what I was alluding to about our mother, and our mother boy sure has a lot of psychological influence on us until we become mothers ourselves for those females. Go back to Bina, that's our mother. Bina is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn can give us stability. And that stability sometimes is hard if we are a water sign, because we're always trying to please, we're always trying to conform, we're always trying to adapt and to understand, and we lose our essence in reality when we do that. So Saturn, which represents the father, is the taskmaker and says to us, sometimes we have to take a different road in order for us to really gain our center, which is, I go back to when you enter into an airplane, you put the oxygen on you first before you help somebody else. We have to be a vehicle, an instrument that is working to par before we can be of help and service and centered to anyone else. And that's what that emotion and fixing that emotion is all about within ourselves and our relationships, because we know that our relationships are emotional, they're connecting, and we're influenced when things are not going balanced in that way. So does that conclude our ACEs then?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
That was quite something. I mean,
Yeah,
2 hours for these cards, and I didn't think we would have this much, but yeah, that's I really appreciate all the knowledge that you brought, Carol. This was a lot. I have to rewatch this and take notes myself.
I'm thinking so, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it. Thank you both. And I love some of the cards and the Thaw deck, as you say, I struggle with, and that's from Alistair Foley. Although it's very symbolic in another way.
Right.
His own symbology. It's not the mainstream that we see with the Rider-Waite. Yeah. Wouldn't you say, Maria? He's more.
Yeah.
Even though he's from the Golden Dawn, it's like he went out of the structure of the Golden Dawn in so many ways.
Definitely.
Not that it was wrong. He's, he is what he is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that's very interesting to me, to put all of these decks that came out of the Golden Dawn, well, the 3 that we know so far, the Crowley deck, the RWS, and the Bota Tarot by Case, putting them next to each other, and then also comparing it with other modern decks to see what they did with like the original descriptions of the cards and how each went their own way with different interpretations. That is what's really fascinating for me at the moment.
I agree. For me as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, that concludes most of this, well, the numbers and the paths. So what we have left now are the 4 court cards, and that will happen next year. So in January, we will pick this up on January 8th, I believe. Not sure of the time. Watch out for the announcements. And the first episode of that, the pages, will be hosted by Carla. And we already have our guests picked out for those episodes. So yeah, in January, we will continue with that. So the 4 chord cards, and then we will conclude this entire series, and then we will have gone through the entire deck. So I really enjoy this whole thing, and I'm learning a lot. So thank you to everyone who's also in chat and doing this with us. Thanks to everyone who's watching the replay. If you have any additional thoughts on the cards, leave them in the comments. And otherwise, I'm going to wish everyone a wonderful Christmas, good Christmas season with family, or whatever it is that you celebrate in your parts of the world. And then a happy new year, and we'll see you next year. Until then, bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.